Okay, we're going to take your phone calls now with our special guest, David Sarita. So get ready. He's next, and so are you on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory with you, David Sarita, our guest. Your phone calls. Before we go to the calls, David, talk a little bit more about that aluminum-type material that Joshua P. Warren had at that conference.
Yeah, the sample comes from Chuck Wade, and he digs it up and near the Plains of St. Augustine crash near Roswell. And he gets the sample tested, and it's kind of an aluminum silica, which is interesting because a sapphire is an aluminum silica. And it doesn't behave like ordinary aluminum in the field of, in fact, on YouTube, it's UFO Crash Debris Magic Wand Effect in Electrostatic Field by Joshua P. Warren, whom we both know. And what's interesting is this sample was, sitting in an aluminum pie plate on top of a Van de Graaff generator. And what interests me about it is that it stands up so it becomes much lighter in gravity's field, and it spins clockwise, which is interesting because photons bounce off the Earth and they spin clockwise. They're affected a little bit by gravity, but photons, escape gravity. Light bounces off the Earth and goes out into space, and gravity's not stopping it and holding it on the ground. So when we look at the idea that an aluminum silica type of a metal, and Boyd Bushman told me at Lockheed that aluminum, when strobed with certain waves, opens up the anti-gravity force. And there are at least 15 or 20 different grades of aluminum that I've tested here in Sedona with a partner here recently. And we see this aluminum pie plate is not being affected, but this piece of aluminum silica type metal, allegedly from a spacecraft, stands up, spins clockwise, and is about to become anti-gravitic. And I believe one of the conductors of the experiment holds out a little wand above it once it's been spinning for a while, and it just jumps up. And so now go back to your stones at the Coral Castle and think, okay, if we vibrate them with this positive or clockwise energy and they become lighter, so much lighter so that just a little wand, a conductor wand, just immediately it leaps. It escapes gravity. This is a piece of metal. And that we're vibrating it with a particular set of waves, and this is happening. Oh, my God, this is it right here. This is a small sample of how these craft are really working. They're simply being vibrated with they're using a type of metal that responds really well to the vibrational patterns, and we're counteracting gravity. So I think it's very exciting.
Okay, let's go to the phones. David Sarita, our special guest. We'll go to South Lake Tahoe in California. Xenemu, west of the Rockies. You're up with us. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, you got it, George.
All right.
My question was for David. If he knows of any stones or sacred shapes that can create or induce people to have synesthesia.
With a high sense of what?
If there's like a stone or like a shape that would create the sound harmonic that would induce people to have synesthesia.
You mean synesthesia?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go.
I never talk about these things. George is the only one that understands.
Well, synesthesia is the crossing of the senses. So if you taste something, you'll see color. Or if you hear something, it'll produce a picture. So it's kind of, some people consider it a form of mental illness, actually, that the senses cross over. So and
don't forget, David, tomorrow in Xenemu, we've got Shelley Carr on, who's also an expert in these stones.
Right, and I hope to archive that show and listen to it.
Sure thing.
But, stones in their natural state have a certain amount of capacitance. They have a certain amount of energy, but it's way different when you vibrate a stone with a particular harmonic code. It totally changes it. It's no longer the same thing. And there's many ways to do that. Using sound waves, it would take you probably 100 years to really change a stone. And when these Buddhist monks and, Christian monks were praying in front of stone statues and it's inciting mantras for years and years and years and prayers, eventually the stone, transforms. But, you really have to use literally quantum generators to transform a stone. But stones, different types of stones, have certain properties that are very unique to each type of stone. But I've never heard of a stone that could induce synesthesia.
Okay, thank you.
All right, but definitely check in tomorrow, too. We'll see what Shelley has to say. George in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, we go. Hi, George.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Hi, I'd like to tell David a little story about what I believe I saw, which I think was the Merkaba. It was about 2 years ago. I was looking out the window, and I saw this bright blue flash in the sky, and then a white light manifested below it, and it was all behind these clouds. And once the white light started to pulse and get brighter, the blue flashes changed to red, then blue, and they increased in frequency. And the white light started to pulsate and counter-rotate. And just from watching this experience for about 30 seconds, I started just looking for information about what I saw ever since that moment. And the thing that matched what I saw the most was something called the Merkaba, mind, body, and spirit. And all the information, what he is saying is true. And I think sacred geometry is proof of it. I'll hang up and listen to your
All right, go ahead, David.
Well, firstly, what I'm saying about sacred geometry is the man-made sacred geometries are wrong. They'll never give us the hidden harmonic code. We have to look at natural ones and do the counter-rotational math. But as far as what you saw, it's incredible. You saw, I go back to my UFO in Berkeley, and I saw one set of lights, blue, green going, let's say, clockwise, and red-orange going counterclockwise. And because red-orange is a longer wavelength than blue-green, which is shorter, between them you get a differential harmonic vibration. They're not equal and opposite. You saw the same thing. You saw a blue light and a white light at the bottom. White contains all of the colors. So when you match all of the colors against blue, when they compete against each other, you're going to get a differential. And it's interesting that the caller is describing the counter-rotational spin once again. This is so common in UFO cases. In fact, I interviewed a bunch of kids on the street one day on my video camera who were in the eye of Hurricane Katrina. They saw a UFO, and it came down above the houses, and they said they saw one set of lights going clockwise and anti-clockwise. They kind of drew it with their hands, and I said, oh, my God, I know what that means. And you'll see this over and over and over again. So it's showing more and more evidence. But what has not been known is the differential between them is actually a precise harmonic code, and you have to tune in to those precise codes to get the desired results. Just like if you're not listening to the proper radio frequency on the radio, you're not going to hear this show tonight. You have to tune into that. So precise codes produce precise results. In fact, these codes get so advanced. If we look at this, is a really amazing story, but it's documented in the Bible that in the Bible book of John, where the disciples are, they're gloomy, they can't catch any fish, and they want to feed the masses. And then Jesus says, have faith, and he casts the net into the water, and they catch 153 fish. I'm trying to get the exact number because I have it in my book here. But anyway, the number of fish that he catches just happens to be their harmonic ratio of, guess what, a Vesica Pisces. And a Vesica Pisces is the shape of a fish. So the ratio of a Vesica Pisces is 265 to 153. And Jesus catches 153 fish in the Gospel of John 21:11. So what he's actually telling us is the mathematical code for creation and manifestation versus the law of attraction. He's saying that, in fact, in the Vedas in India, they believe that there is a very precise language, which is harmonics, vibrations. You have to have opposing waves to produce sound vibration. In particular languages, you can actually manifest. I mean, these yogis in India could manifest food right in front of them. A palace would actually appear, manifest out of nothing, just materializing. Like the Sai Baba can just materialize things right out of his hands. And you think, how does he do that? Well, Jesus is telling us that how could Jesus have spoke 2,000 years ago in a mathematical language of 153 fish when we know that is the part of the ratio of the actual shape of a fish, which is a Vesica Pisces. I mean, he's literally giving us the secret to the code of creation, of manifestation. So I think it's really amazing to see an example like that.
All right, next up, Earl in Cleveland, first-time caller. Hey, Earl.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hello to both of you, George and David. I've been listening for about 9 months now, and there's been so much on